morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Claremore, Oklahoma, the hometown of Will Rogers. Today's verse is 1 Peter 2:5. You also, as living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house for a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Now, if you didn't see last week's verse, this time it's really important that you see it, and I have the link up here where it says that Jesus is a living stone. And I brought us to a couple of passages that describe uncut stones, and a living stone is not to be cut or chiseled or shaped. And see, many humans want to shape a stone to fit the ideal building that they have in mind. Well, we can't shape Jesus to fit our designs. He is an uncut stone because he is a living stone. And so we have to accept him as he is holy. I guess in two ways, holy. And we can't cut away scriptures about him to fit our preconceived notion of what Jesus should be like. Now, in today's verse, you also, as living stones. Well, if we are Christians, the word Christian means little Christ. And if Christ is in us, then he's going to do the work within us. He's running the show. He's driving the car. And with that, then we're going to reflect everything that he is. And if he is an uncut and living stone, then we are also going to be little living stones. Continuing, we're being built up as a spiritual house for a holy priesthood. Isn't this cool? He wants to use us as little living stones to build his church. We're building materials for him. Isn't that cool? To offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. This is the key part of this, that it's all about offering sacrifices to him. In other words, laying down every part of our humanity, loving him more than anyone else or anything else in our lives, so we could be perfectly empty, so he could come in and take over everything. Once we're there, that is the kingdom of heaven within us. Now, let's look at a famous cross-reference. Everybody knows the great confession of Peter, where Jesus asks, who do people say that I am? And some say this, some say that. Then Jesus asks, who do you say that I am? And in Matthew 16:16, Simon Peter answered, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. In verse 17, Jesus said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. Now that is truly blessed when we can see the work of God in our lives. That's awesome. Continuing, verse 18, I also say to you that you are Peter, which means little stone or a little rock. And upon this rock or stone, a slightly different version in Greek of the same word, I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. So what is he building with us as living stones? His church. We're the building materials for his church, and he wants to use living stones, uncut stones, the same way he is. So just like Peter, we're little living stones. Now the next part can get a little controversial. In verse 19 it says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosed in heaven. Now, some people go all nuts about binding Satan, and they go on this quest to bind Satan every hour of the day. And my question is, first of all, if Jesus is inside of us, how can Satan possibly touch us? He can't. Secondly, if someone could really bind Satan, why don't they just bind him once for all, and then we'll be done with Satan? I mean, if you have to bind him every hour, then your binds are not very effective. So what are we binding and loosening? The things in our lives that prevent us from emptying ourselves and letting him take over. So we may need to bind our lust of the flesh, or we may need to loosen our pocketbooks or something like that. So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.